It's a good day for Palestinian farmer Anwar Ziad and his family. The military has opened the gate in the wall Israel has built around his village of Barta'a. Today he and dozens of others will be able to come and go as they please, but only if they have the right permits. Some days they aren't so fortunate.
We face problems every day in going and coming. When we buy things, everything needs a permit, which is always a hassle.
This is the other way into Barta'a, a much more complex vehicle and security checkpoint, manned by a private Israeli security company. Together, these two access points are the only way into this enclave, now trapped in the northwestern corner of the West Bank by Israel's separation wall on one side and the internationally recognized Green Line of the 1967 war on the other side. It's what the UN is calling the seam zone. When Israel's nearly 700-kilometer wall is complete, the UN estimates there will be nearly 50,000 Palestinians trapped in the seam zone, and that has officials concerned.
We're very concerned about people not being able to have easy access out. If you want to get to a hospital and you're in one of these seam zone areas, then you have to go through a gate in the wall. That can take some time.
Forbidden from entering Israel and with very restricted access to the West Bank, the nearly 5,000 residents here are feeling more and more isolated.
In this market for second-hand cars, a different kind of product is increasingly on offer: weapons. Here in the Gaza Strip, it's the fastest growing business. There's been much fighting recently between the two Palestinian movements, Fatah and Hamas. The population feels insecure. More and more customers don't come to the market to purchase a car, they come to buy arms. They even at times trade in their vehicle for an automatic rifle or a Kalashnikov.
Recently there's been a problem with law and order, so the families put money aside to buy weapons to defend themselves.
This man explains that many people have started to handcraft the guns in their own homes.
Most of the sellers make the weapons themselves in their houses and then come and sell them here to earn a bit of money. But I tell you, if the state guaranteed a minimum salary of 150 euros per person, I myself would close this business.
Getting paid is a genuine problem in the Gaza Strip. Among the sellers, there are many former police officers who haven't received their salary for over a year. They sell their own weapons in order to survive economically.
Driving fast on this empty road in southern Burma, in the heart of the civil war. This zone is controlled by government forces and the current militia. For the past 2 weeks, there have been daily attacks on this road. Villages are empty. Then, we meet some Burmese soldiers carrying wounded fellows. We are here illegally, but they seem too busy to stop us. They have 2 people injured because of a mine this morning, not far on the road. And there is no doctor. Next village, here is another Burmese army unit.
We have been ambushed yesterday, less than 1 mile from here. We are in control of this area, but up there we are not.
2 hours driving and 6 miles later, we have to walk to get the first contact with the people we are looking for, the DKBA, a Karen militia allied to the Burmese army. These men spent the past 12 years to fight their ethnic brothers, the Karen insurgents. Beyond this camp, the area is controlled by the enemy. These soldiers are taking us to their secretive and powerful commander, Nakamwe.
I've been living in the jungle for 25 years. I don't care about human rights. The insurgents attack us and go back to Thailand in the UN-sponsored refugee camps. So me, I'm going to fight back and attack the refugee camps.
Of the Cold War, the Gabala radar station towers over the Azerbaijan plains. It was one of 9 built by the Soviet Union to guard its southern borders. The powerful 16-story radar has a range of 6,000 kilometers and is capable of scanning the Middle East, the Indian Ocean, and most of North Africa. With the help of the Gabala radar, the Russian military was able to monitor the Gulf War as well as the Afghanistan and Iraq conflicts. The Parliament of Azerbaijan set up an expert group in 1992 to study the station's impact on the country's environment. 10 years later, the concerns of the environmentalists have not died down, with many calling the site an ecological genocide. Currently, Russia pays $7 million annually for the station, and it will be able to use it until 2012. Last year, Russian company Gazprom doubled the price of gas exports to Azerbaijan, and some politicians in Baku called for a similar jump in rent on the Gabala facility. Russia believes the U.S. will agree to its proposal to use the radar as part of joint missile defense effort. In return, President Putin says Russia would not have to go through with its threat to target missiles towards Europe.
All smiles and warm handshakes made for a friendly welcome, but it hides the hard bargaining that's going on behind closed doors. It's the first opportunity Russia and NATO have been able to discuss President Putin's compromise move over the US anti-missile shield in Eastern Europe. The US wants missiles and radar, sited in Poland and the Czech Republic, to counter the possible threat from what it calls rogue states. However, Russia is opposed, as it feels its security being threatened. At the G8 meeting, the President Putin suggested use of a Russian radar base in Azerbaijan would do the job. Russian Defense Minister Anatoly Serdyukov is trying to persuade the US and its NATO allies that the radar base at Gabala would take the place of the planned Eastern European sites. The US sees it as an addition.
I was very explicit in the meeting that we saw the Azeri radar as an additional capability. That we intended to proceed with the radar, the X-band radar, in the Czech Republic.
And that's the sticking point. But NATO isn't happy with the US anti-missile shield either. It says member countries in southern Europe won't come under its umbrella. It wants to see if they could be covered by a short-range system incorporated into the US shield.
Berlin's Jewish community lives in fear. Acts of anti-Semitic violence are growing. Records show that since 2004, these acts of violence have risen 50%. The police spend many hours protecting Jewish places of worship throughout Germany. Today there are little more than 100,000 Jews in the country. The head of the Berlin Jewish community has personal experience of anti-Semitism. Just a few hours before this interview, neo-Nazis attacked a Jewish creche in the suburb of Charlottenburg. A smoke bomb was thrown into the building and Nazi slogans were daubed on the wall.
Unfortunately, these anti-Semitic attacks are becoming daily occurrences. They start at the schools. School children are insulted, and in some extreme cases, pupils are driven out and attacked physically. In Berlin schools, the word Jew is often used as an insult.
The German Ministry for Justice intends to use Germany's presidency of the European Union to lobby for legislation to fight the extreme right. Holocaust denial, already a crime in some European countries, public threats of violence and expressions of racial hatred will be outlawed under new EU laws.
The day had hardly begun and already a suicide attack in the Afghan capital. The explosion occurred near a bus station on a busy road in the west of the city.
It was 8:30 when a suicide bomber blew himself up near a convoy of foreigners. 4 civilians were killed and another 4 wounded. A foreign soldier was also wounded. The bomber was driving a taxi and we believe he was aiming for the foreign convoy.
US soldiers arrived on the scene just minutes later to respond to the attack. The US military says a shot fired at that point, which killed 1 person and injured others, was what it calls an accidental discharge. But Afghans say such blunders are taking place too often. There was one last Tuesday. Helicopter-backed troops mistakenly killed 7 Afghan police officers and injured 5 in Nangarhar province in the east of the country. The American explanation was that they thought the men were members of the Taliban.
More than 70 people have been killed in a truck bomb attack in Baghdad. It happened near a central Shiite mosque. Well, it comes as US and Iraqi forces launch a huge operation against al-Qaeda north of the capital. Some 10,000 troops have been mobilized in the Diyala province. Well, let's go now to Joseph Kraus in Baghdad. He joins us on the phone.
This is the latest in a series of attacks against both Shiite and Sunni mosques that was started last week after the bombing of the Al-Askari Mosque in the northern city of Samarra. This is far and away the most deadly attack. As you said, our numbers are at least 61 people killed in this attack. That toll probably will rise in the next few hours. This is the largest bombing that's taken place in Baghdad since April 18th, when a single bomb killed 140 people in the capital. It was a huge explosion. The shockwave from the explosion rattled windows across the capital. There was a huge cloud of black smoke visible over the Tigris. So this was a major attack, one of the biggest we've seen in several weeks.
Yasser is realizing a dream. His gaze is fixed atop the bridge he's wanted to build for 20 years.
This project means to me a future. When I was a child, I dreamed Khartoum to be as a good city or beautiful city in the world.
Like New York?
Yes, why not?
The project Yasser is working on will make riverboat transport a relic of the past. 5 new bridges in the next few years. Beyond the headlines of tragedy and war, Sudan has been racing to the top of Africa's economies, looking forward to a future that seems almost unreal. A $4 billion construction project on the banks of the Nile will change the face of the city in less than 10 years. Already the Sudanese capital is a vast construction site, as foreign capital pours in from China, Turkey, India and the Gulf. New office towers are sprouting up, luxury hotels, golf courses and international banks. Sudan's economy is one of the fastest growing in the world, and that's in spite of 40 years of war, a decade of sanctions, and billions of dollars in debt. The Sudanese proudly say it is their planning.
Since 26th of April, we sleep and stay here 24 hours a day for nearly 50 days already. But why we want to, we will stay here because we have to protect and preserve the Queen's Pier statue. Because the government have already they have rights to demolish the Queen's Pier, so that we have to stay here and protect the Queen's Pier 24 hours a day. And this preservation of South Perry and Queen's Pier campaign could be a chance for Hong Kong people to think more about the identity and of being a Hong Kong people, and also the what is the meaning of being a citizen in a colony? What's the impact for us? It is a so-called we have hand over, and it seems that the Hong Kong people can be more autonomous towards the social policy. But actually, for these 10 years, we didn't feel that our autonomy has been greater or improved.